Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 23, episode 75. We've now seen what the ladies can do. And they can perform at times. And there's other times that it's just not happening. It's not coming together. On those ones, I've definitely sped things up a lot. But when they've been competitive, I've been like, ooh, well, my curiosity is satisfied, and there's not much more happening this season. I really, regardless of whether they're going to be competitive or not, would like to speed things up for the remainder of this season, with the focus now kind of turning towards next season and what can we do with an all-female lineup from the get-go for the entirety of a season. Can we hang in there, keep our job, and do what we need to do to set ourselves up for long-term success? So we need to get to next season and soon. We're done developing the car for this year. We're already focusing on research for next year's car, taking the advantages of what we can get, preparing for the upcoming season. But driver development update, that's still an important thing because obviously what can we do long term? So Flourish, +1 to braking, +1 to accuracy. Not bad for 2 points. For Tanaka, this is really bad for her because she should be getting a lot more than 2 points. And +1 to defending and +1 to accuracy is not what we want to see. Brun has had a good month though. +1 to braking, smoothness, defending, and accuracy. So 3 of those points. The defending, not a big deal, especially when it's already good. And actually her best attribute, and when braking is her second best. I mean, it's good to have that point, but it's not where she needs to have her points spread out to get her into one of the seats at some point.
The grid is all set here in Texas for the 19 laps of today's sprint. Things are hotting up here in Texas for the sprint. And it's lights out and away we go.
Sprint racing at Coda, and Tanaka is got the same crap parts from a week ago, as it's another sprint weekend, and I'm not going to waste her last set of components for a couple of sprint weekends. So we're throwing away a couple weeks to set her up to then be able to do something a little bit more over the next couple of potential weekends. So for her, I'm just going to settle in right now. I don't expect her to be on the pace or successful. She's already a second off the back, so we focus on Flourish, and here's how much we're going to focus on Flourish. Time 16 speed. See you later. She's 18th. Practice-wise, she's a little bit higher up. She could be semi-competitive this weekend, but not enough so to make any difference. Oh, it's lap 4. Oh, my bad. Russell and Sainz have come together at, I think that was turn 1, top of the hill, right? Tanaka, well off pace. Flourish in a battle with the AlphaTauris for not being last. Russell gets a penalty for causing collision, stays out on the track. Sainz ends up pitting, not relegating him to the back, punishing him a lot more than Russell will get from that penalty. I'm finally getting ahead and staying ahead of the AlphaTauris. It's been back and forth for a long time.
Now we've had incidents here. Kevin
With the
Magnussen,
old
it looks like.
experience gain was a good way to go about it. This is coming into the final corner, I believe. Yes, it is. Yeah, there's pit road. And that's Magnussen turning in on the Aston Martin. Flourish still has a little bit of fuel recovery to complete, but if we can get away from these guys, it's going to make that a lot easier. And we are picking up pace. I mean, we were 4 seconds back. Now we're just 2 seconds back of those ahead of us, and definitely you can see we are gaining on them here. But we've nearly gotten out of DRS range at 996. I think Hadiar is going to have it here, and does. Brings them right back in from 1.2 to 0.6. I mean, that's a half-second gain on a single straightaway. But meanwhile, we are at least catching those cars in front of us. If we can get within DRS range there, it matters less about Hadiar having it. Let's go ahead and go balanced now, as we're going to have to recover this fuel here shortly. And we definitely got within DRS range. And don't get DRS. So we easily get within DRS range. We got it all the way down to 0.7, and yet that was after the detection zone that we managed to do that. But here we are now, half a lap later, very, very comfortably at 0.5. Let's go ahead and conserve, get the fuel right. Magnussen carrying a penalty. We're definitely less than 5 seconds behind him, so we got a virtual P14 now. If we can beat Sargent, that's up to 13. That would definitely be a successful sprint, especially with how things were looking early on, where it seemed like 17th was about the best we could muster. Fuel's right, so go ahead and go balanced. We've got just a little bit for a push. If Sargent could just lose DRS, that would be perfect. It would be an easy overtake, and then you get right in with the slingshot right into DRS range of Magnussen. But he's managed to close that up. Drugovich leading this little train. 39%, 3 laps to go. That's not much spare. And beginning the final lap at 35%, so we're okay there. Let's go ahead and go on attack. So if we can't close this up, down that back straight, we will have a go. We will make a push. We're coming up now. And deploy for as we come out of this. Oi, bad exit there. But of course, we already know that Florsch does not have good reactions. Something that Tanaka has much better, but we just don't get to see it. As for whatever reason, she is just so far off the pace compared to Florsch. Though she's had new components once or twice this season. Otherwise, she's had the remnants. Ollie, as good as Ollie was, he also made more mistakes. Tanaka has made more mistakes, so there's been a lot of damage on the car. But as we come around the final quarter, we are going to not have the reactions to get ahead. We had it under braking through the corner, and then coming out of the final corner, Sargent pulls back ahead. Of course, he had the slipstream behind Magnussen. Magnussen's going to have that 5-second penalty, so that's going to see us finish 14th, but should have had 13th there.
We're not far off now. Sit tight and get ready. It's the United States Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Philosophy largely the same here. Tanaka is not expected to do anything today, and so we're just going to let her race and gain some experience. Settling down here right away, but Florsch is 14th and still has that 14th off the line, battling with Maloney though. Maloney on softs. That's got to be a 3-stop strategy. There is no 2-stop strategy that could see softs make it. No way is there a 2-soft strategy that could see softs make it to the end. So I'm going for a medium hard strategy today. We wanted that better pace up front, but didn't expect something along these lines. I didn't think there would be more than a few cars on the softs. It's more than a few. It's, what, 8? It's almost half the field. Keeping up with Maloney is going to be a difficult ask, but it's going to be the key. Keeping up with him until his softs kind of wear down, and then we have a pace advantage. You can see how quickly we're out to about a second. Got a yellow flag, and Florsch is involved in a crash. So Florsch involved in a crash. This is from behind us. Magnussen looking to overtake, and we are on the outside for this one. Hard to tell who's at fault for that. That could be a racing incident. But that's clearly day ruined when Tanaka doesn't have base, and we have not set Tanaka up for success. And Florsch most definitely has now got her race ruined, and she's picked up a penalty, so she was given blame for that one. I love how every time somebody else clearly collides into us, either we get a penalty or we get a racing incident. But anytime it's even remotely close to a 50-50 type scenario, we most definitely are the ones receiving a penalty. We have 0 damage, though, at least for Florsch. We just have that 5-second penalty, and now an overtake on Tanaka to get back into 19th. But of course, we're going to have to get a whole 5 seconds further up the road before we even complete positionally an overtake with Tanaka. And then we're 6 seconds behind the rest of the grid. So let's definitely speed things along lap 5. And we get to 5 seconds by lap 8. So it took just 3 laps to eke out a 5-second advantage. And Florsch pulling away rather quickly, and we are starting to catch up to some of the cars, at least, ahead of us. But again, Tanaka's got multiple excuses on why she is so far off the pace. So hard to blame her for anything happening there. And Flourish, apparently this was through her own fault that she found herself in this position. But she is gaining on those ahead, so she does have better pace than them. Without the damage, she's hanging in there, doing okay. And I do think some of those cars are going to be on that soft strategy where they are already coming into their window and pitting and well off pace at the moment. It's not an issue for Russell. That's not what we're looking at, though. We've got multiple cars crashed and Tanaka involved. Not even sure how she could be involved in one. She should be all alone out there. But Magnussen just came out of the pits and is going to come in. And does he have a right to that corner? Like, he's not sufficiently alongside us. He really needed to back out of that one, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to get blamed for it because, well, that's how this thing works. And Tanaka did turn in on him, but did he get sufficiently alongside? He was barely past our rear wheel. So now Tanaka holding damage as well, so that means both cars, well, actually, in this case, it's not, right? It's just the powertrain. We're not having any aerodynamic issues either. Incident involving... No penalties given. No penalties given. Even with a 5-second penalty, Flourish is sufficiently far enough ahead of Tanaka to justify a double stack. So there is Flourish, and she's out in 7.5 seconds, so that's a 2.5 second stop after the 5-second penalty is served. And there's Tanaka coming in with still that little bit of a gap. Was that a problem with the left rear? It most definitely was, 4.5 seconds. So she only actually gained 3 seconds on her teammate, and we come out in 19th and 20th. Flourish is still there, but a lot of these cars around her have already pit, so she has made some forward progress. Let's go down to aggressive, get them up to temperature, and then we'll settle in. Flourish trying to get back into the battle at the back end of the grid at least, and back down to standard. So Flourish battling back and forth with Magnussen and eventually does complete the overtake. She's 3.5 seconds behind Hadjar. Hadjar was somebody that we had been catching up to but had not caught, so this is good progress. This is all including that 5-second penalty. Lap 30 of 56, Flourish has finally caught up to Hadjar, gotten within DRS range, also behind Sargent. Magnussen is now well behind, but I think Magnussen already made another pit stop at short softs. That's not going to make it to the end for sure. So there's going to be an additional stop in there. We're coming up close on our next pit stop. Sargent had just pit, and we've gotten around Hadjar. There you go. So Flourish up a position. I think we're now into that actual P17. Is very much the deserved / actual position that we have. Tanaka. Optimal, really? 38%. Let's go ahead and go aggressive. Give her one more lap. Means I think that we might be in the same boat here for Flourish. Oh yeah, she's already a couple laps later. Tanaka in the pits. 2, 3, 3, 4. Much better stop. But we overtook Hadjar. We also got him out of DRS range, making that forward progress. Don't worry about Albin or Dragovic. Will be behind them once again. Sargent pulled away from us pretty quick, but he's on a very different strategy than we are, and has already pit. Flourish, pit road. 2-3-6-6, decent stop. Multiple decent stops today, besides the one mistake. So Flourish comes out 3 seconds behind Dragovic. That's something we can probably make up in time and get up to P16. Hadjar, we're still well ahead of 5 seconds ahead. And then Magnussen 5 seconds further back. And we've got some others pitting, but none of them were necessarily in a position we were battling with. So I think Dragovic is probably the only realistic option at this point, though there might be some others filtering into that gap shortly. Things up. As for fuel recovery, looking fairly good on that. We've recovered well over half, but certainly not all. We've got just 19 laps to go. Flourish, at least, might have to do a little lift because Tanaka's going to end up a lap down, so... or already is? Yeah, already is. Let's go ahead and help out with Flourish just a little bit to get her down to 0.5 for now.
Now is that
Sonoda with crash. Won't bother looking at that one. It's fine. Just letting you know. Shou Guan Yu is all the way up in second in the Alfa Romeo. There's that 0.5 territory we were looking for. Let's take it one further. We'll get it to 0.4. Or close enough. There you go. Now it's at 0.4. 3 seconds back of Drugovich, though, so we are going to have to maybe push on a little bit here. Sonoda pits, comes out behind us. So Sonoda's crash has knocked him back. We don't know what kind of damage he's going to be carrying for now. We are pulling away a little bit and closing up on Drugovich slowly. 10 seconds from Drugovich to the next car. So right now we're looking at a P15 or at best type scenario unless something else goes favorably for us. Sonoda does have decent pace though. We've been pushing and barely pulling away, and actually Drugovich pulling back away from us as I thought we had closed it down. All of a sudden we didn't, and we have a virtual safety car. The timings just went crazy. It's Tanaka.
Now is that the Williams involved? So let's take a look at the replay. Now here we are at the final corner.
Just lost it and hard into the wall. Is she going to be able to continue on that one?
Severity of the crash.
She's out. She is retired. So Tanaka, I'm glad we're not destroying engine components, but this really sucks on what she's doing to us in terms of car damage. It's making it a lot more expensive to try to make upgrades or facility refurbishments when we are spending so much money replacing component after component after component. Tanaka is going to start getting recycled down to used components so that we don't have to invest money anymore in others. Knowing that occasionally she's faster, but she's terrible on components. Last race, if there's something left, we'll give it to her, but otherwise, that's going to be that. Virtual safety car has ended, and off we go. Happens every single time to us. Sonoda goes from multiple seconds behind. Drugovich was less than 3 seconds ahead. We have a VSC, and we come out of that VSC a couple seconds further down, and now Flourish is involved with Sonoda. So Sonoda with DRS, making the overtake, heading to turn 1. There's no reason for an incident to be here. That's completely Flourish's fault, 100%. No penalty given. I think she hurt herself under the circumstances and did not hurt Sonoda, and therefore kind of got away with it. But we're back down to P17. Nothing to compete for, so we're just going to speed this thing up till the end. 3 laps to go. 2 laps to go, using the battery, trying to get Sonoda. We have multiple times gotten ahead. We just can't seem to stay ahead, and meanwhile we are closing up on Drugovich just slightly. But every time we get ahead, the DRS kicks in and we drop down. We're starting to overheat now, pushing. Let's drop back down to aggressive. Starting the final lap at 1.7 behind Drugovich. Are we going to have a chance to catch Drugovich? We're burning all of our battery to even just get in range, but we're back to cooled off a little bit. We've pulled away from Sonoda. We're not carrying a penalty. We're at 1.1. If we can get that backstretch and we are within. We are within DRS range. We've got a small chance here. Small chance of catching Drugovich and getting P15. We're going to go to the inside. We're going to make the run, and we're going to complete the pass. Down to neutral. We've got the fuel to make it to the end. And we're not catching anybody else, so let's go ahead and back off on that. Nice. Nice little run from Flourish there to finish P15. We got Sonoda, we got Drugovich right at the end.
We're nearly ready to get started here. 71 laps, 17 turns. It's the Mexico City Grand Prix. What will happen next? We're about to find out at the Mexico City Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
So a couple key things as we start this race. Flourish qualified 16th. 17th off the line here. Tanaka lasted well off the pace. And she shouldn't be this time because after her latest incident, we are literally down to her final components. She has nothing left in reserve. One more crash, one more extreme degradation of components, and things are about to get real expensive. Way too many incidents already, and it's approaching costly. Like I said, we're actually already starting to put Tanaka on some of the older earlier upgraded components. And so that's already putting her pace off just a little bit, but not significantly. Not to the extent of how she is so slow right now. But we're a lap and a half in. Florsch, though, did not get a very good start. Lost 2 positions. Field is pretty closely bunched here early on. There's no big gaps, though. So consistently in the top positions these days. Alfa Romeo have come on strong tail end of this season. Makes me think they have not prepared for next season very well, but as we're not facing major changes, it may not hurt them. But Ocon, the only one outside of DRS range compared to anybody else, and we are at that point. We need to back off. One stopper for me today. 2 stopper could be potential and could be about the same time as the 1 stopper. We'll see how we fare with the 1 stopper selection, but to help us with that, to give us more pace, see how long we can keep up, guaranteed, unless they're safety cars or VSCs, we are facing a scenario where we're going to have to lift and coast, because not only have I gone 3 laps under fueling on a 71 lap race, where it's a little easier to do that anyway, but I've pushed on for more than 3 laps before backing off a little bit. So we're light, so we have more pace, but we're gonna have to make up that fuel deficit at some point. And look how I stopped pushing fuel, and suddenly Florsch is slipping out of DRS range. This is not, and getting overtaken just like that. She drops DRS and instantly loses a position. She's got a good chance to get it back here, but will she? Oh, she's not very aggressive, and she just sits on the wheel of Maloney, and we're back to the bottom 2 positions. This could be a very quick day if it's going to go like this. After a few laps, Florsch is on the edge of losing Maloney DRS, and we get a big lockup from Florsch. She goes wide into the stadium and is down to last place. And then she spun a few corners later, making matters worse. So this is the next half a lap. How do you even spin there? Like, that takes some really, really poor driving and literally 0 driver confidence. Multiple cars in a crash. That would have been Florsch if there was anyone around. But this is now our best chance of getting anything out of today, is other cars colliding with one another. So McLaren in locking up and taking out the Alfa Romeo as he tried to make a move to the inside with a late break. But he left it a little too late. That double move by Florsch definitely hurt her tires, and she's slowly building back confidence. She's alone. That's going to help. There's no one around for her to crash into, but it definitely messes up our day. Magnussen picks up the penalty. Tanaka just a few seconds off and well ahead of Florsch. Florsch has no damage. I mean, all she did was hurt her tires. And even then, she's only 2% off Tanaka because, Tanaka's not good on tires. Meaning they've got a pretty level situation right now. And Show and Magnussen, first to pit, Tanaka is able to get ahead of them for now, but Florsch is not. But as others begin their first pit stops, there's definitely a lot of cars that went for the softs. A lot. Tsunoda went for the hards and is up near the front. Could be a good day for him, potentially. There's a crash. Safety car. I think you gotta pit. You've got to pit. We're going to be changing strategy here. We'll be on softs at the end. We are going to take this pit stop. It's Drugovich and Verstappen. On this one, it looks like it was Verstappen who might have locked up and got into the side of Drugovich. Drugovich was all the way to the outside edge of the track, so he was as wide as he could be, and Verstappen came into him, so it looks pretty clear from that angle. Tanaka still ahead of Florsch, so she will come down pit road first. Not much traffic. There was pretty sizable gaps out there, so this should not impact positions. Tanaka 2.5. A little bit slow. 2.536. Flourish also all alone down here. 2.557. And what? How's... We're held. We're being held. They've gone to a red flag. They've changed it to a red flag and we're being held in the pits. So did we just get put a lap down by the AI? And we're going to restart this race. Let's go ahead and pause and get a little push. It's not going to be pretty, one would think. Our fuel recovery is still not a done deal, but it's no longer a problem after that red flag situation. It's going to see us ahead of Piastri and Albon, though I don't know if that's going to hold. We are on the hards. Nobody else is, but here's the deal. The hards can make it. The hards can make it to the end of this race, and we're not going to pit. We're not going to pit. But we're also not going to hold positions on the hards. At least I don't suspect we will. Everyone else is going to pit. Our pace is not going to be very good, though. Just how bad is it compared to everybody else? I guess we will find out. Stayed with for quite a few laps there, but now has a little bit of a gap. She's out of DRS range. We're 6 seconds down to the next car right now, which is nowhere near a pit stop behind. But there's other cars. And to them, we're already 27 and 30 down on the leaders. Nothing doing there, but it's already, 8-9 seconds to just a few cars back. It's Ferrari, much faster than everybody else. They've just about got that Constructors' Championship locked up. Also, they might today. I think a 1-2 today would lock it up. And there's the first pit stop. It's Stroll, and he still comes out ahead of us. There was only about 11 seconds to Stroll. Are you telling me that on the longest straight of the season that you're only losing about 8 seconds on a pit stop? That doesn't make any sense.
Barely any room to maneuver. And the impact
Shogun on you tries to come up the inside of the Aston Martin, but he's not sufficiently alongside. The Aston Martin closes the door, and he doesn't yield. That's that typical yield or crash scenario. Sergeant Pitts comes out behind. No penalty was given on that one, even though it was a pretty clear who was at fault. Flourish is up to 14th as others are pitting. She does not have a significant advantage, but she is ahead of cars. We'll see what sort of pace she can run at and how well she can hold cars off, because we've got a long ways to go to the finish, and we're on the slowest compound, and we're not going to be in great shape here. I think she would really need to be significantly ahead for this to be very effective. She's 13th for now. Tanaka's 16th. And there's definitely still others that have yet to pit. I think those on the mediums are going to be on the worst stretch, the ones that were on medium. This group, like Albon. Albon's one of those ones. I don't know how Stroll, unlike everybody else, like they're taking a pit and it takes a while. It's a long straight. You really lose time here compared to other tracks. Stroll lost like 6-7 seconds. Did not make sense, and you can see just how far ahead he is compared to anybody else. He's literally number one on the track of those that have already pit. But it looks like he might end up pitting again. I don't know. I think he might try to stay out there. But Hadjar, Albon, we've got a good chance with them. Flourish is currently 14th. Tanaka is down to 18th, though. Flourish now 15th. Piastri's caught up, gone around, driven away. Now Maloney. DRS just makes us a sitting duck, down to 16th. The no-stop strategy following the red flag has not worked out in our favor, but it's not like we had pace before. Remember, we were at the back anyway. Alternative strategies are sometimes your best friend, or sometimes completely useless. But look how far behind Hadjar is. I think Flourish should easily be able to hang on and beat him. Tanaka, no. I think he'll catch her, especially with a fresh set of softs or whatever it is he's on. Magnussen, I don't think Flourish can hold him off either, so I'm guessing it's going to be a P16 for Flourish and P18 for Tanaka. We'll see if we're accurate on that one, but is anybody else left to pit? Yes, there is. It's Albin. Albin was one of the ones that I was looking at. Ooh, he comes out in between, ahead of Tanaka. Gasly and Zhou, they've both got a pit too. And we're back up to 13th again. Tanaka's 17th with 4 laps to go. Let's slow it down here for the last 4 laps. Problem with Florish, though, is here's Albin and Magnussen both catching up, getting through. Albin's clearly the faster one in the faster car. But I was thinking it was going to be 16 and 18, so at least there's that. Of all the cars, Zhou, with an extra pit stop here, has ruined his own race. Zhou's nearly a lap down. Tanaka will not go a lap down, but 3 laps to go. We better conserve for her. Florish 15th, falling off the back. Hadjar's coming also 3.7. As we begin the final lap, we need to get a little bit more. That fuel recovery is really bad here. Rather grateful for that red flag. Not only for bunching the field up, but for helping us with this fuel recovery, because my oh my, like 40 laps and we couldn't recover 0.9 in 40 laps. Like, that's atrocious. Okay, push Florish. Don't let Hadjar catch you. It's only 15th and 17th, but she's made it. It's fantastic. A lot more than 40 laps. 47 laps. 47 laps on these hards. We're actually closing in on Magnussen here towards the end. We got the 15th. Zhou's coming really fast here. Bad strategy there from the Alfa Romeo team, as both cars were comfortably in the top 10, including one on the podium, and they end up at 13th and 18th because they could not plan correctly for the race. Our plan kind of worked out. Like, we went from being last versus moving up a handful of spots. Charles Leclerc, driver's champion for the year, and the race winner today. Oh, they already wrapped it up. They're like 180 points ahead with just 3 races to go. Aston Martin do get 7 points today, but they are so far off the back, I don't think they're going to threaten us in the last 3. We finally go fast enough with not good pit stop times. 2.5s were very, very slow for our standard. I mean, 2.3 to 2.4 is standard. 2.2 we'd hit on frequently and haven't in quite some time. But even then, we're still the 2 fastest, and we skipped an extra stop compared to everybody else. That was 1 stop only. We're back to over 100 points ahead of Red Bull with 3 races to go. It's not a done deal, but with only a 43-point maximum per race, we're close. We're close to having our fastest pit stop competition championship. That's definitely worth some cash too, so happy to have it. Tanaka and Brun have both leveled up between the last race and this race, so now a 65 and a 56 or something like that. So the gap is closing, making progress, but obviously Tanaka's pace has been worrying. Certainly not what we expected, because her raw pace numbers average is higher than Florish, but she clearly is lacking in some other way that's also affecting her pace. The smoothness is one thing, right? You know exactly how that one impacts the car, impacts the driver, but what is it? Right? We know that some of the attributes are specific to mistakes and aggression, defending, attacking, so on and so forth. It's not just about consistency, right? We see Tanaka spin or lock up much more. And okay, fine, she's a rookie and we've seen the rookie effect. But something else is also contributing to that pace. I don't think this is just a rookie thing. Because in practice, when you simulate the practice, she was always faster than Florish. Almost every single time. At least 4 out of 5 races, she was faster in that FP1 session. And the raw numbers backed it up. You could see why she would have been faster. And if Florish is finishing 15th, Tanaka should have been finishing 13th. Florsch made a big mistake and then followed it up by a second mistake. Now, the red flag followed that. Okay, fine. But there was a significant gap between these two. And it's been that way all season long. There's been one racetrack where Tanaka was... two racetracks? Where Tanaka has been as fast or faster than Florsch. Otherwise, it's just not happening. So I'm not sure what that extra element is, but clearly one of her lower attributes is slowing her down quite a bit. Is it half a second a lap? I don't know if it's that much, but it's clearly slower. We're not talking about 3 laps down like Florsch was when she started, so I mean, at least there's that. Her raw pace is a step ahead of where Florsch was in her early days, and probably a step ahead of where Florsch was when she was a 65 overall, because the raw pace is better. A 65, apparently, at the end of the day, is still significantly slower than a 74. But at the same time, we saw drivers that were, 77, 80 range, had a handful of them coming through the team as we, tried to not overdo it and stay competitive, keep our job while we were preparing for this moment. And their pace was significantly different from one another. The capabilities significantly different from one another. So that pure number is not just the only thing that the game's taken into account. Definitely taken other stuff. Thought raw pace was going to matter more than it has to this point. But we'll get to the bottom of this mystery, and hopefully Tanaka continues to develop quickly. Otherwise, Brun's going to be in the seat sooner rather than later. But then aren't we going to have the same problem? Brun winning F3, leading the way, dominating, doing something that none of the other female drivers have done, but then we go and throw her in Tanaka's seat because Tanaka is not fast enough, or Florsch's seat because Florsch is not fast enough, though, obviously at the moment the choice would be opposite to what we thought it would be before. But then you throw Brun in, and I, at this point, would think the same thing is going to happen. Brun might have better raw pace, but oh no, she's lacking in this other random attribute, and poof, it's a 56 overall, so she's slow as molasses. Make it make sense. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm the Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.